So Jamin Davis, it seems like we need to talk about him, and we're going to do that in this podcast today. And welcome back to another video and podcast here on the Washington Football Maniacs channel. My name is Greg. I'm your host. If you're new here, well, of course, this podcast is dedicated to news and commentary for the Washington Commanders. If you're down with that, please make sure you have subscribed and also hit that notification bell. You can also catch us on Podbean as well. And visit our partner here, Mint Mobile. Link will be in the description. You can save a lot of money on your cell phone bill. So with that, let's get into today's video. So Dan Quinn is talking about unleashing the Jamin Davis. Unleashing. What does that mean? Well, it means that he wants to get the very best out of Jamin Davis. You know, Jamin Davis a couple of years ago was one of our first round picks, and he was really drafted to be the linebacker. And I think that was just way too much on Jamin. Of course, we had other guys come in and to try to do the Mike, and I think in terms of that, it was a failed experiment. Most feel like that we had drafted Jamin Davis a little too high as well, which is probably true. I think for how that we were going to use him in the Ron Rivera machine, the Ron Rivera regime, I believe that it was probably true that we drafted him way too high. The thing is that Jamin Davis seems like he might be better playing more of a hybrid role, kind of like Micah Parsons. I know you've been hearing this, especially from guys like Ben Steinzig. You can check out his article in The Athletic. He was talking about this, how they plan to unleash Jamin Davis by maybe playing him more in a Micah Parsons role, moving him around, basically having him rushing the quarterback more instead of dropping back into coverage, because certainly when he was dropped back into coverage was not his strong point. I think he gave up the highest yard total, pass completions, and all of that against him. And so that was not Jamin Davis' strength. His strength is more of pressure, rushing the quarterback, playing more on the edge. And I think that, you know, when you start to look at this, you start to look at Jamin Davis maybe playing more into the edge role. Then you have KJ Henry on the other side, who I really liked. I thought that when KJ Henry got his opportunity to play last year, he did a very good job, very commendable. And so maybe play more KJ Henry. I know that we probably, you know, we can't forget about Smith Williams and guys like that. But honestly, I think KJ Henry offers us a better opportunity. I think he's got a little bit more burst out of him than the other edge defensive linemen do. And so I think moving Jamin Davis more to the edge, more into pass rush type of plays for Jamin Davis, I think that's going to make Jamin Davis into a superstar. Honestly, I think it is. Now, the thing is, if it does, are we keeping Jamin Davis? Because obviously, I don't think you're going to see us picking up his fifth-year option, and we should not be picking up his fifth-year option. But maybe it resurrects his career enough to where, okay, we know we can use him in this role. He actually becomes the next Micah Parsons. Then you do consider re-signing, extending the contract for Jamin Davis. If it fails, then you realize, okay, Jamin Davis just wasn't cut out for it. Let's cut him loose, let him go somewhere else. But overall, I love the idea. I love the fact that Dan Quinn, he's evaluating these players he has on defense. He wants to see where he feels like they can make the most impact, and that is the situations he's going to put these players in. Now, certainly, there's players, as we know, that have been cut loose, mostly on offense. I've seen, guys like all across the offensive line. Charles Leno, Nick Gates, um, Chase Roulier, which honestly I thought Chase had already been cut loose. He's been injured so much, and honestly, I think it was time because we got as much as we could out of Chase. He was a very solid center for us. And then, Larson came in and he's done a commendable job in place of Chase. But, we're getting, we're cutting loose guys a lot on the offense. Haven't really seen as much on the defense as of yet. So, really makes you wonder uh, who exactly is going to be left on that defense to build around. And who knows, maybe Dan Quinn is looking at that defense and he sees that, you know what, we got a solid defense. We just need to put them in the right situations to be successful. Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio couldn't do that. Or maybe they didn't want to do things in a way that, you know, uh, basically they wanted to put their players in positions to where you've got to learn to work within this system. We're not going to be flexible enough so you can succeed and you can go and do the things that you do the best. Now, maybe that's kind of a harsh a statement, but I think it's pretty true. Honestly, I think that it's one of those situations where it's like, here's the system, learn the system. You got to work within the system. You got to be able to be a thinking man's football player on that defense. And if you can't accomplish it, you're not going to succeed. And the different approach with Dane Quinn is going to be, all right, we're evaluating you to see what you can do the best, and we want to be able to put you more in those situations. We don't want you to think about it. We just want you to play fast. And I think ultimately that's going to be much better on this defense. Just go out there and play fast. As Joe Witt Jr. says, I want you to be violent. We're going to play violent. So fast and violence. That's probably going to be the two keys for the defense this year. Not much thinking, just put you in situations where you can best succeed. And overall, I think that is the best approach for this defense, the best approach for Jamin Davis. I do want to see Jamin Davis succeed. He's shown us at times, how he can be a very valuable player on that defense. And a lot of times it really does wind up being because that he is pressuring the quarterback. You're putting him in situations where he's doing that as opposed to forcing him to drop back into coverage, which obviously is not his strength. So my hat's off to Dan Quinn for looking at these guys and saying, you know what, I can get some value out of these guys. And overall, it's going to make our defense look great. Folks, I haven't given up on Jamin Davis yet. If he can move him into more of an edge role, a hybrid role, where he's rushing, pass rushing more than dropping back in coverage, let's do it. Let's see what we can do. Let's see how much that Dan Quinn can get out of these players that are on defense today. Because if he can get this defense playing great, the players that we have, then that just means that we're that much closer to being recalibrated to being a team that can compete. Now it's all on the offensive side of the football. Well, Folks, you let me know in the comments what you think about this. Do you agree? Do you think that Jamin Davis is going to flourish under Dan Quinn? Do you think that this idea of putting him in a hybrid role is going to help Jamin Davis? Let me know. Let me know your thoughts on that. And with that said, folks, I hope you enjoyed this short podcast. If you did, give it a like, give it a share. Let me know how I did. And we will be back with another one. I hope you held to the Commanders as much as possible, held to the Redskins, held to the Washington football team. I know that all of you folks love to call them what you call them. Let's just call them winners. All right, take care, folks.